Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be talking about some fountain pens and some inks that I recently gotten, and showing a bit of art before I jump into a speed paint using the materials I've mentioned. And first thing up, I made a TikTok video which got a lot of questions about these pens in particular. I got them like 2 days ago from Amazon. They are fountain pens and fine nib. They came all together for around $20, maybe a bit less. They're very cheap and affordable pens. The nib quality is pretty okay. I don't really have any complaints with them. They're pretty good pens. Let's go over how they work really quickly before I move on to the inks. I'm trying to make this as short and quick as possible. So they kind of twist off on the top, right? You see the nib. Oh, can't really see it. Have to remember where the camera is. I'm so sorry. And then you pull this part, and then you roll it down like this. You would put it in some ink, and then you would twist it up again, and it would suction all the ink up into the pen, and then boom. There you are. They all come empty and blank and ready to use. Practically, I already filled up all of these with ink. So let's move on to the inks really quickly before I move on to a few complaints I have. Before moving on to the speed paint finally. Okay, so the inks that I recently got are these Monteverde USA inks, and in black documental ink and in Capri Blue ink. I actually got the Capri Blue because there's an artist on Instagram that I know of called C Points, and they have very beautiful artwork, and they use a lot of like a similar blue to this, but I got the darker version of it because I think that I would like a bit more depth in my drawings, but it's still a beautiful color. And here's the two colors swatched. Here's that Capri Blue I'm talking about. Move this down a little bit. Here's that Capri Blue. Here's this black color. The black is a bit warmer than I thought it was going to be, and a bit less black, if it makes any sense, but it's on Indian ink, so that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of Indian inks, let's move into the inks that I've already had, that I put in some of these, one of the pens at least. They are the P.H. Martins, or Dr. P.H. Martin inks, and sepia, crimson, and red violet. Very beautiful colors. Don't have many complaints with those, unless it comes to these pens or just fountain pens in general. I didn't use it for these ones, but I had mentioned them earlier in other takes of this video. I have this black pen. It's also a fountain pen, but it's in 0.1, and it has those little tiny refills, and not exactly the regular, or not exactly just like the straight ink like this one does, which is kind of a downside I don't enjoy about that. You have to either get like one of those refillers to put in there, or just buy refills for the pen, which isn't ideal. For me at least, it's kind of messy, takes a bit of time. I just don't enjoy that process, how do it. This is like one of those dollar store brush pens that usually for watercolor, and I just filled this one up with like some ink. I had mixed a bit of all three of these colors together, those Indian inks, and I've been using that for a little bit. Let's just go over a few things and advice that I have for these pens as I show you guys some artwork and such I've made with these over the past few days. Let's go with the first one. These were made with the brush pen and the black one, and the black fountain pen. That's what I meant, not like the black ink, of course. My biggest thing with fountain pens is that they're great, they're very beautiful, but they can be expensive, which is why I, instead getting the pen that I wanted, which was approximately $360, I opted for a $20 version where I got 4 pens, and it was quite similar to what I wanted in this pen in the first place, and I thought it looked kind of cool. It does the job, it did the job. They look very nice. The quality of the nib itself is not too bad. It's not super bendy. It's pretty firm. But I will tell you a few mistakes that I have made with fountain pens in the past, which I'm trying to avoid now, right? And first of all, there's a few things that can change the consistency, I guess, or the performance of your pens. For one, paper, right? If you're using a very soft paper, very cheap kind of paper, maybe they're probably not the best thing, because if the paper scratches easily and like pills up easily, it could get in the pen, cause blockage. It's not very good. The next thing is that do not ever, if you have had problems with fountain pens, do not put Indian ink into your fountain pens. I've made that mistake many times. They're great for dip pens. They're maybe good for glass pens. I haven't really tried those. I don't know. But they are not meant to go into fountain pens, especially fountain pens with such a fine nib, because Indian ink is very thick. It kind of settles. It dries pretty fast. It gets kind of goopy and gross, and it just kind of stops up your fountain pen. And it's just not a cute or good look. It's kind of just terrible. I've done it many times, and I only found out recently that that's a problem, and I've heard for some people that humidity plays a huge factor in how their pens work or how their inks perform and things such as that. So I'd always keep that in mind too. Mainly that first part though, just don't put Indian inks inside of these. To prove my point, to make a further statement, I had put an Indian ink in this pen. I know it's new, but I had already fucked it up because I didn't really think about it. I was like, oh, I love this ink. And I didn't really look at the bottle and like realize like, oh, it's an Indian ink. I don't know why I didn't. And I'm not sure if you can really see it, but the color separates a lot. It seems like brown, like dark brown, so that coffee color. I have to like shake it constantly. It's very choppy. It skips a lot. It's really hard to write with it or to do anything, especially on this paper where it is a bit softer paper. After a little bit, I can get a good flow going. I can work around it. Like this is all done in that sepia ink, in this Indian ink. But it still takes a while to get it, correct. And I do have to go a lot slower and press a bit harder than I would regularly have to do with like any other ink, simply because it is so, the consistency of the ink is just really bad. Or not bad, it's just bad for these pens. Here's something I made yesterday or like this morning. Little ship, little mailbox. I think it's really cute. A few little people and these things. And for the speed paint, I made this, which is just a recreation kind of, or like an expansion on this first concept and idea. thank you for watching me go on this mess of an experience. Here is the finished drawing or doodle or whatever. I think it turned out kind of fun. And have a great day. Goodbye.